Please divorce your husband. The truth is, he has been involved with your daughter.
I had secretly visited a high-end restaurant I had always wanted to go to without telling my husband. Out of nowhere, the waitress said those words to us. At first, I thought, what on earth is she talking about? But as I listened to her story, I began to turn pale.
If you don't believe me, please come this way.
She guided us to a private VIP room that only wealthy people would use. It was there that I learned the truth, and I immediately fled with my daughter to my parents' home. My name is Kate. I'm 25 years old, and I'm facing the greatest crisis of my life. You see, it was just recently that I discovered my boyfriend had been cheating on me. What's worse, he abruptly broke up with me, saying, I want to marry the woman I cheated with. Between the two of us, we have a 3-year-old daughter named Megan. Although I received child support and alimony in a lump sum, it's nowhere near enough. I needed to find a job right away and secure a stable income for Megan's sake. After numerous interviews, I was hired as an office worker at a small local company. That's when I met Ryan, who became my mentor and helped guide me in my new role. He was also divorced, and our situations were quite similar. With that common ground, we grew close even outside of work, and once, the three of us, Megan, Ryan, and I, went out together. During that outing, he treated Megan as if she were his own daughter, showering her with affection. I thought, maybe I can trust this man. Just when I started thinking about a future with Ryan, he proposed to me. That was the beginning of my new life. Soon after we got married, Ryan said to me, I'd like you to quit your job.
Megan would be happier with her mom close by. My income alone is more than enough to support us, so you can count on me. What do you think?
Ryan is a highly trusted and well-respected figure at work. He's often at the center of things and has been entrusted with several major projects, so his salary is several times higher than mine. It's true that we could live a comfortable life on his income alone. More than anything, I was grateful for the chance to spend time with Megan, who I had left feeling lonely because of my busy work schedule. So, I happily chose to become a stay-at-home mom. Since quitting my job, I've been able to focus on keeping the house clean and organized. Megan smiles more now, and there's nothing but joy in our lives. Ryan's work keeps him busy, and he comes home late every night. But he always makes it back by 9 o'clock to say, I'm home to Megan. Megan has completely warmed up to Ryan, and she refuses to go to sleep until he gets home.
I'm sorry for always being so late. Megan looks sleepy every day, doesn't she?
Ryan, you work so hard. Don't push yourself too much, okay? We were a thoughtful and loving family. Since Ryan couldn't spend much time with us during the week, he made sure to make up for it on his days off. We'd go to the local park, or he'd cook us lunch. If perfection exists, this is what it must look like. But that feeling didn't last long. One day, I started noticing something strange about Ryan's behavior. It was the way he kept trying to take Megan out alone. Whenever they were about to head to the park, and I offered to come along, Ryan would look slightly uncomfortable.
Kate, you can relax at home, you know? You work so hard with all the housework and childcare.
I'm doing it at my own pace, so it's okay. Besides, I packed us lunch, so let's eat together.
Oh, yeah, That's a great idea. I'm really looking forward to it.
Ryan probably thought he played it off well, but those small changes started to bother me. One time, I asked him directly why he was so intent on being alone with Megan. With a serious expression, Ryan answered,
Megan has really taken to me, but we haven't had much time together yet. I just want to bond with her as soon as I can and become a real father. If you're there, she tends to lean on you more, so I thought it'd be better for us to have one-on-one time so I can try harder.
It seemed like Ryan was genuinely thinking about his relationship with Megan. I was so happy to hear that, and from then on, I respected their time together. However, their outing sometimes took an unusual turn. One day, Ryan casually mentioned that they had eaten at a well-known upscale restaurant nearby. I was shocked, but Ryan laughed it off like it was nothing.
It's important to expose her to quality food from a young age. You know, it's all part of proper nutrition education.
I get that. But if you're going to a place like that, I wish I could have gone too.
Well, if the three of us went, my wallet would be completely empty. Forgive me, okay?
Whenever Ryan came back from the restaurant, he always brought sweets with him. They had been going to these upscale restaurants about once every 2 months. I couldn't help but feel envious, but Megan herself didn't seem to enjoy it very much. At her age, simple things like ice cream or pancakes seemed far more appealing than fancy restaurant meals. Ryan's affection, while genuine, sometimes felt just a little misdirected. Even so, I still trusted him. Then one morning, as we were eating breakfast, a certain news story came on the TV. It was about an incident far from our area. Some suspicious person had been wandering around a kindergarten, peering inside the building. I didn't think much of it and just continued eating. But Ryan suddenly turned red with anger.
Kids are their parents' treasure. Isn't it awful that some creep would target them like that?
Yeah, it's scary, but it's not around here, so we're fine.
You can't be so sure. Weirdos like that are everywhere, like cockroaches.
It was certainly a troubling news story, as Ryan said. But was it really something to get that angry about? Ryan, who had gotten worked up, suddenly came to his senses when he noticed Megan's startled face.
Oh, sorry about that. But I'm really worried, you know? I mean, it's about time Megan started kindergarten, right?
Ryan was right. It was getting close to the time we needed to decide on Megan's kindergarten. When I suggested, there's a nice place nearby, so why don't we pick that one? Ryan immediately shook his head.
No, the location isn't safe. If some creep showed up, there'd be no way to escape.
Don't you think you're overthinking it a bit?
Better safe than sorry, right? You don't have to worry about the cost. Let's pick a better quality kindergarten. Don't you care about Megan's safety?
It felt like he was accusing me of being a bad parent, so I had no choice but to go along with it. Ryan's excessive worrying about Megan could sometimes be a little exhausting. Still, they say fathers tend to dote on their daughters, and maybe this is just how dads are. In the end, all the kindergarten options I had picked were full, and Ryan unilaterally decided on a school by himself. And it was quite the place. Apparently, it was a newly opened kindergarten with a reputation for excellent security. The educational standards were also high, and it was the kind of place wealthy families were eager to send their kids to. I never thought I'd be sending my daughter to a school like that. The tuition was shockingly expensive, but Ryan paid it without hesitation. I couldn't help but be in awe of how generous he was. Thank you. I feel reassured now with that place. I think Megan will love it too.
Of course. It's for our precious daughter. No price is too high.
Feeling like he'd done a great job as a father, Ryan looked extremely proud of himself. But the real challenge came after that. We only had one car, and since Ryan drove it to work, I couldn't use it to drop Megan off. So I had to take her to kindergarten by bicycle. The kindergarten itself was perfect, with great facilities. However, the distance was just too far. I still remember how tough it was at first, cycling an hour round trip every day, even in the rain, and dealing with the muscle pain. One time, I mentioned it casually to Ryan, just a small talk. But he gave me a look that said he was thoroughly displeased.
So, what? You're saying it's too hard to put in the effort for Megan, so you want to quit? What kind of thing is that for a mother to say?
No, that's not what I meant. I was just tired and wanted someone to listen, that's all.
We're the only ones who can protect her. It's sad that her own mom would think she's a burden.
Ryan muttered those words like I was the villain and cut the conversation short. At that moment, I became sure that there was something off about Ryan's way of showing affection. I started feeling suspicious of him, and after that, I almost completely stopped confiding in him. Since he already spent weekends going out without me and came home late on weekdays, it didn't affect our daily lives at all. Ryan never brought it up either, so our awkward relationship just stayed the same. Even with all of that, kids keep growing. Megan successfully graduated from kindergarten and moved on to a prestigious elementary school. At first, Megan was a little confused by the new environment, but by the time she reached second grade, she had made plenty of friends and seemed genuinely happy. Even at this point, Ryan's obsession with food education continued. By now, Megan was getting to an age where she could appreciate good food. While it's important for her to learn the value of high-quality meals, I worried that it might have some negative effects. I often asked Megan about it when she came home, but her expressions were always downcast. Isn't it a little gloomy whenever you go out to eat with your dad? Do they serve something you don't like every time?
No, it's not like that.
It was obvious that Megan was hiding something. But it seemed like she wasn't willing to talk about it. When I brought it up with Ryan, he flatly denied having any clue.
She's always cheerful when we're at the restaurant together. Maybe she just finds you annoying? It's probably her rebellious face.
Ryan grinned as if it were nothing, but Megan's reaction didn't seem like something trivial. I was sure she had a problem she couldn't tell Ryan about. When I was little, I used to talk to my mom, not my dad, when I had fights with friends or struggled with schoolwork. I decided I needed to take some time to really listen to Megan. I told her about it a week after I first noticed something was wrong. Megan, how about just the two of us going out for a meal this weekend? Your dad has to work that day. Coincidentally, Ryan had an unexpected work obligation and had to go into the office that weekend. I figured it was perfect timing since I could avoid the trouble of him finding out.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Megan's face lit up just a little. I had a feeling she might finally open up to me. Excited by that thought, I decided to splurge a bit and made a reservation at that upscale restaurant. I had been saving up little by little, so I could afford to splurge just this once. The main reason was to listen to Megan's concerns, but I was a little excited too. When we arrived at the upscale restaurant, a waitress greeted us. The moment she saw Megan, her eyes widened in shock, and she quickly walked up to me.
Are you this girl's mother?
Yes, I am. Is something wrong? Feeling overwhelmed by her intensity, I was completely unprepared for what she said next.
Please divorce your husband. The truth is, he's been with your daughter.
Before finishing, she leaned in and whispered to me so no one else could hear. What she said was so unbelievable that my face went pale. You can't just say something like that out of nowhere.
If you don't believe me, come this way.
She led us to an opulent private room, completely different from the table I had reserved.
This is a VIP room reserved for company executives and other high-profile guests. Right now, your husband is having a meal in the next room.
After she said that, I could hear faint voices coming from the other side of the wall. Bracing myself, I listened closely, and it took everything not to cry out.
You know, my wife is totally useless. She's terrible at parenting and housekeeping. Everything's half done. Compared to her, she is amazing. I can't wait to divorce my wife and remarry her.
I had already noticed that our marriage was starting to fall apart. But the name Ryan mentioned in that moment was something I never could have imagined. I completely lost my appetite and, taking Megan with me, rushed out of the restaurant like we were escaping. Ryan is the worst. I don't want him to see Megan anymore, and I don't even want to look at his face. Megan seemed to feel the same way, because when I told her we were going to my parents' house, she immediately nodded without hesitation. Even though I hadn't realized what was troubling Megan, she still trusted me as her mother. That alone was my only comfort. The night we returned to my parents' house, Ryan started blowing up my phone with calls. I was too scared to keep ignoring him, so I finally answered.
Why aren't you and Megan here? And what's with the house looking empty, like you ran away in the middle of the night? What are you trying to pull?
The anger in his voice was unlike anything I'd ever heard, and it made my skin crawl. I told him, I don't want to see you right now, but he wouldn't listen.
I bet you're at your parents' house, aren't you? I'm taking tomorrow off work, and I'm coming over. Don't you dare run.
He hung up abruptly, and for several minutes, my heart wouldn't stop racing. I hugged Megan tightly as she sat trembling nearby and asked my parents to take her out for the day. That way, Megan wouldn't be in any danger. The next morning, my parents took Megan out early. By mid-morning, Ryan stormed up to my parents' house and started ringing the doorbell furiously. Realizing I was the only one there, he clicked his tongue in frustration.
I lost my temper yesterday, but suddenly disappearing like that, don't you think that's cruel? I was worried about you and Megan, you know.
Hearing him try to act like a caring parent made my skin crawl. Because Ryan, standing right in front of me, was putting on an act. After all, I already knew his true feelings from what I heard at the restaurant. Were you really worried about me?
Of course I was. What are you talking about?
He tried to play dumb, but I glared at him directly. You've got someone else you like, don't you?
Don't start spouting nonsense. Why would you even think that?
I picked up my phone and played back a recording.
You know, my wife is totally useless. She's terrible at parenting and housekeeping. Everything's half done. Compared to her, she is amazing. I can't wait to divorce my wife and remarry her.
I had recorded the conversation I overheard at the restaurant the day before. Ryan's face instantly froze.
How do you have this? Were you there that day?
Keep your voice down. There's more to this recording. I spoke in a low voice, and Ryan faltered. In the silence, the recording continued to play, the voice calm and steady.
When I met her, I thought it was fate. Not yet, but I'm sure we'll end up together someday.
After a brief pause, Ryan clearly said the name.
I'm looking forward to it, Megan.
The recording stopped there. Chills ran down my spine. The client must have thought Megan was some kind of mistress or affair partner. They laughed it off like it was a joke. But who could blame them? No one would ever think he was talking about his own child. What is this? You've been thinking about such a small child that way?
No, you've got it all wrong.
Ryan, flustered, began to ramble about something even more disturbing.
I'm just saying Megan will be perfect when she grows up. She's definitely going to be beautiful. Everyone who turns heads wherever she goes.
It's fine if you think that, but saying you want to marry her and divorce me? That's insane.
That's part of a parent's love. If you can't accept that, it's because you don't understand.
He genuinely believed his twisted logic was right. Realizing there was no point in continuing this conversation, I pulled out the divorce papers I had prepared. I can't understand your way of thinking. We can't be a couple anymore. I want a divorce.
Divorce? Think about Megan's feelings.
That's you, isn't it? Last night, I finally talked to her, and now I understand why she never looked happy when she went out with you. At first, Megan hadn't realized how abnormal Ryan's behavior was. But as she grew older, she started to understand that his behavior wasn't the kind of closeness a father should have. Megan had been rejecting Ryan since before she entered elementary school. Even so, Ryan insisted on spending time with her alone in private rooms at upscale restaurants, where no one could interfere. Megan had tried to ask for my help many times. But whenever she did, Ryan would always say something like this.
Are you sure you want to worry your mom over something you're imagining? If we end up divorcing, you might not even have dinner tomorrow, you know? Your mom would be so sad.
He tied down a young child with such heartless words. Thinking about what Megan must have felt makes my blood boil. Even so, Ryan didn't show the slightest remorse. Instead, he flew into a rage.
This is between Megan and me. You need to stay out of it.
He snatched the divorce papers from me and immediately signed them.
There. Now you're nothing but a stranger, Kate. I'll be taking Megan.
I couldn't believe how audacious he was. Did he still think, after everything, that Megan belonged to him? There's no way I'm handing her over. Not to someone dangerous like you.
Then tell me this. How are you going to support Megan when you don't even have a job? School isn't cheap, and living expenses add up fast.
His words about money hit me hard. He was right. Our household had relied entirely on Ryan's income, and right now, I had no financial means of my own.
I'll hire a lawyer and take this to court if I have to. I don't mind spending whatever it takes to get custody of Megan.
Confident of his victory, Ryan looked down at me with smug satisfaction.
We'll discuss custody of Megan in a month. I'm not a monster. I'll give you some time to say goodbye. I'll file the divorce papers, so enjoy your last moments with her.
With the divorce papers in hand, Ryan left my parents' house. He was serious about taking Megan away from me. The obsession in his voice sent chills down my spine. I quickly contacted a private investigator. At the time, I never imagined they would uncover something that explosive. A month later, Ryan wouldn't be the one smiling. God has a way of delivering justice to those who deserve it. Exactly 1 month later, Ryan contacted me. He said he'd come to my parents' house again, but I quickly suggested another location. If he caused a scene there, it would only trouble my parents and the neighbors. We agreed to meet at a small local cafe. It was a cozy, hidden spot that didn't get much foot traffic. I figured that in a public place like that, Ryan wouldn't make a scene. Ryan agreed to the location, and we set the meeting. I arrived first, sipping my coffee when Ryan walked in, bringing a man in a suit with him.
Kept you waiting. Did you enjoy your last moments with Megan?
When I looked up, the man with him politely greeted me. A small attorney's pin gleamed on his lapel.
I've brought a lawyer. You won't escape this time.
As soon as Ryan leaned forward, eager to settle things, I calmly urged him to relax. Why don't you order something first? We don't want to trouble the cafe. Ryan, clearly thrown off, clicked his tongue and ordered a coffee. The server quickly brought over the drink.
Thank you for visiting us today. This is a complimentary service from our cafe.
While sipping his coffee, Ryan glanced at the service the server placed on the table. The next moment, his eyes widened in shock. And for good reason, the server hadn't brought out a plate of cookies, but a voice recorder. Without hesitation, the server pressed play. The recording began blasting through the cafe. What played were Ryan's appalling comments, all collected by the waitress from the upscale restaurant. Ryan's eyes grew even wider as he panicked and rushed to stop the recording. Surprised. That's the proof of all the inappropriate things you've said to Megan at the restaurant. The waitress cooperated and gathered it for us.
That old hag. How far does she plan to get in my way?
Ryan, sweating nervously, gripped the voice recorder roughly. Then, he turned his anger toward the server.
You too. How could you do something like this just because she asked you? Getting involved in a family's private matters so easily.
At that moment, Ryan finally looked directly at the server's face and froze completely. His mouth moved awkwardly as he forced out a few hesitant words.
Wait, is that Kayla?
That's right. You sure took your time saying hello.
Kayla looked down at Ryan as if he were a piece of trash. This woman was the very weakness the private investigator had uncovered. the person he divorced before marrying me. That woman was none other than Kayla. When it came to knowing Ryan's past, no one could rival Kayla. According to the private investigator, she had particularly critical information about him. That's why I decided to ask for her help this time. To my relief, she gladly agreed. Not only that, but she even lent us this small, privately owned cafe for the meeting. I couldn't thank her enough. Under Kayla's glare, Ryan froze like a deer in headlights.
Why are you here? Are you trying to steal another woman from me?
Even as he tried to sound defiant, his voice cracked, stripped of all authority. I stood my ground, facing Ryan with confidence. Kayla told me everything. It sounds like your last divorce was caused by the exact same thing, wasn't it?
What are you talking about? There's no proof of that.
Oh, there's proof. The agreement you signed during your last divorce.
Kayla slammed a document onto the table. It was a restraining order stating that Ryan was to stay away from Kayla's daughter.
You fell for my daughter when she was just in kindergarten, didn't you? And now it's happening again. You're disgusting.
No, it's not like that. It's just that my parental love was misinterpreted.
If you keep making excuses, I'll call the attorney from back then. I'm sure they still have all the detailed records.
Kayla shot him a piercing glare, and Ryan shrank back, visibly trembling. He seemed to be frantically searching for a way to recover, but it was a hopeless struggle.
Why would you side with someone like her, Kayla? She's a stranger to you.
She's not a stranger. She's one of my valued clients.
Kayla smiled at me, and I nodded back in agreement. The truth is, I used to come to this cafe almost every day for a while. It was during the time when Megan was in kindergarten. The long trips to and from that far-off school were exhausting, and my stamina had its limits. That's when I discovered this quiet, cozy cafe. On the way back, I'd stop by without fail for a cup of coffee and a slice of cake.
I started this cafe as a hobby, but there were times when it was tough because we had so few customers. Back then, Kate would visit often. That's how we became friends.
Kayla was not only the owner of this cafe, but also a mom raising a girl slightly older than Megan and a mentor figure for me as a mother. We would chat about parenting or just share small talk. Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine that Kayla was Ryan's ex-wife. So, when the investigator revealed their connection, I was shocked beyond words. But that became the turning point in protecting Megan from Ryan.
You're playing dirty. Digging up the past like this is unfair and completely out of line. I earn more money, so custody should obviously go to me.
Panicked, Ryan started to shout, while the lawyer he brought buried his head in his hands. It seemed Ryan hadn't shared anything about his past. Had the lawyer known, he never would have agreed to take on such a losing battle. Realizing that winning custody was now hopeless, Ryan clenched his teeth and fell to his knees.
Please, Kate. Megan is my destined partner. I'm begging you. Give me custody.
No matter how many times I refused, Ryan kept clinging to me. As I struggled with the pitiful scene before me, Kayla calmly called the police.
This guy did the exact same thing with me, crying and bowing his head like this. The truth is, he's never learned his lesson. Let's just have them take him away now.
Shut up. This has nothing to do with you.
Ryan began to shout, but the lawyer and I held him back. The police arrived quickly, and Ryan was unceremoniously escorted into the back of a patrol car. With the storm now past, the cafe was quiet again, and Kayla and I exchanged smiles.
Good job. How about some cake?
I'd love to, but I think I'll head home. I just want to see my daughter's face right now. I promised Kayla I'd return with Megan another day and left the cafe. The satisfaction of protecting my daughter was enough to fill me up for now. From that day on, as a single mother, I began a new life, living at my parents' house while balancing parenting and job hunting. Although Ryan was released shortly afterward, a restraining order was immediately issued to protect Megan and me from any future harm. He would never be allowed to come near us again. Knowing the police were on our side gave me an overwhelming sense of relief. However, this world is full of dangers. One day, Megan came home from school and said something concerning.
There's been a weird person hanging around the school lately. The teachers are patrolling, and they're asking parents to help too.
Apparently, someone suspicious, like the ones I'd seen on the news, had been spotted in the area. There were multiple reports, so parents were officially asked to take turns watching over the children. Each of us was assigned specific areas to monitor during school drop-off and pickup times. 2 tense days passed, and then the situation took an unexpected turn. A report came in about a sighting in the area I was assigned to. A child heading home from school informed me, and I immediately rushed to the scene. There, I saw a man in shabby clothes hiding in the bushes, staring toward the school. As I took a breath to call out to him, I got a clear look at his face and froze in shock. Wait, is that Ryan? The man startled, lost his balance, and fell to the ground. His face became fully visible, and my suspicions were confirmed. The so-called suspicious person who had been lurking around for days was Ryan. The same man who used to rage so passionately about creeps like this. How could he end up like this? More than anger or fear, I felt an overwhelming sense of pity.
It's not what it looks like. I swear, I wasn't trying to hurt Megan. Please believe me.
You were furious about creeps like this on the news before. Tell me, how are you any different now? At my words, Ryan began to tremble. The voice I spoke with, from the depths of my anger, made him visibly afraid.
That incident was just some creep acting on disgusting intentions. I'm different. I only have pure, fatherly love for my daughter.
To me, and to the rest of the world, it's the same. Both are disgusting, selfish crimes. Ignoring Ryan as he tried to speak again, I pulled the safety alarm I had been given by the school. A loud sound rang out, and Ryan stumbled repeatedly as he tried to flee. But the alarm drew the attention of other parents, who quickly gathered and pinned him down.
What's the big deal? I was just looking. I'm her father.
Ryan, now being handed over to the police again, shouted without caring who heard. Then, suddenly, he fell silent and stared fixedly at one spot. Following his gaze, I felt the blood drain from my face. Megan was standing in the crowd. Before I could react, Megan pushed her way through the crowd and ran toward Ryan.
Megan, I knew you still love your dad.
Ryan opened his arms, smiling happily, but Megan stopped short, just out of reach.
Megan? Don't be shy. I'll give you a big hug.
You're disgusting. Don't ever show your face to me or Mom again. I hate you.
Her response was sharp and clear, loud enough for everyone to hear. Ryan froze as if time itself had stopped. Then, as if his soul had left him, he slumped over and was loaded into the patrol car like a sack of luggage. The sirens faded as the car drove off, and I ran over to Megan. As I hugged her tightly, she looked up at me with a satisfied smile.
Mom, I did it. I finally said it. I feel so much better.
You were amazing and so brave. But promise me you won't do anything dangerous like that again, okay? I always thought I had to protect Megan, but before I knew it, she had become so strong on her own. Feeling the weight of her growth made me a little sad, and I knew I wasn't alone in that. In the end, Ryan was sent to prison where he belonged. The story of a suspicious man showing up at an elite school, who turned out to be a former parent with disturbing habits, spread quickly. The media picked up the story, and Ryan's real name was reported nationwide. Once well respected at his company, his reputation completely crumbled, and he was immediately fired. He lost his job, his status, and his future. In addition, the pending alimony and child support were paid in full, and with that money, we moved to a new home. I felt sorry for Megan, but transferring schools was necessary. However, even when I talked about transferring schools, Megan kept smiling the entire time.
I can still keep in touch with my friends, and I'm excited for the new school. As long as I have you, Mom, I'll be just fine anywhere.
Bolstered by Megan's positivity, I threw myself into job hunting in our new town and eventually found work as an office clerk at a small company. With no more worries about living expenses, I was finally able to feel at ease. Now, Megan has adjusted to her new life and made more friends. She still keeps in touch with friends from her old school, and I feel like Megan has become even brighter than before. Even though balancing work and parenting is challenging, I feel refreshed because I'm living a fulfilling life. My parents' house and Kayla's cafe are just a short bus ride away. I visit occasionally to take a break and recharge. I also went back to that upscale restaurant to thank the waitress for her help during the ordeal. When I tried to give her a box of treats as a token of appreciation, she simply smiled and declined.
I only did what I could to make my customers smile. If you come back as a guest and tell me the food was delicious, that's the best thank you I could ever receive.
Her kindness and grace left such an impression that Megan now says she wants to become a waitress when she grows up. If she grows into such a strong and admirable woman, I'll support her wholeheartedly. Those hectic days feel like a distant memory, and now our lives are filled with happiness. As Megan's mother, I'll continue to work hard to ensure her happiness and give her the bright future she deserves.